Before the first pitch is thrown or the kickoff leaves the tee, American crowds participate in a mandatory collective ritual. But the Star-Spangled Banner is mechanically punishing to perform. The composition requires the singer to hit notes spanning an octave and a half, a massive vocal range of 19 semitones, or a twelfth, which pushes the average voice to its absolute breaking point. That vocal demand turns a moment of patriotism into a high-wire act, and when a celebrity loses their balance on live television, the public backlash is swift and unforgiving. A piece of music engineered to pull tens of thousands of people together routinely isolates a single person in the center of a stadium, exposing them to failure. Yet the physical strain of hitting those high notes is secondary to the cultural weight the song carries. Over the decades, performers and athletes have utilized the anthem's mandatory silence as a stage for public rebellion. During the height of the Vietnam War, artists began distorting the melody to reflect national anxiety. By feeding the notes through high-gain amplification and a tremolo bar, performers mimicked the literal sounds of rockets and bombs. At the same time, marginalized athletes realized that the anthem's global broadcast offered a rare, highly visible platform to protest racial inequality. Half a century later, that exact same platform ignited a modern controversy, as players taking a knee forced the stadium audience to confront police brutality during the song's runtime. How does a specific arrangement of notes, originally intended to forge a single, unshakable national identity, consistently serve as the primary battleground for America's cultural divisions? The song's origins have nothing to do with a grand national doctrine. It was born in a literal war zone. In September 1814, an American lawyer named Francis Scott Key was held captive on a British ship. From the deck, he was forced to watch a relentless 25-hour bombardment of Baltimore's primary defensive fort. When the smoke cleared the next morning, the British attack had failed. The physical proof was the massive 30 by 42-foot American garrison flag still flying over the peninsula. Key hastily jotted down a poem documenting exactly what he saw. To make the lyrics catchy, they were soon set to the melody of the Anacreontic Song, a popular tune from a gentleman's club in London. He was simply acting as a journalist, recording the literal survival of a single military installation on a Tuesday morning. Because it was a topical song about one specific battle, it waited over a century to gain official status. For decades, the public relied on unofficial hymns like My Country, 'Tis of Thee. It wasn't until 1931, after a massive petition campaign, that Congress passed a resolution and President Herbert Hoover signed the Star-Spangled Banner into federal law. But that official adoption came with a quiet editorial decision. Key wrote 4 stanzas for his poem, yet today we exclusively sing the first verse. Looking at this document of the rarely sung third verse, we can see lines that severely complicate the song's legacy. Groups like the NAACP note Key specifically included the phrase, the hireling and slave. Given he was a lifelong slaveholder, historians interpret this passage, ending with the gloom of the grave, as a condemnation of enslaved Americans who escaped to join the British military for freedom. To function as a unified national symbol, the anthem requires a collective, selective memory. We have to edit out the darker historical realities embedded in the original ink. Beyond ignoring the later verses, modern institutions actively reshape the text we do sing, specifically its famous final line. At military bases like Travis Air Force, the anthem is a mechanism used to coordinate thousands of airmen, aircraft, and logistical systems toward a singular, mission-ready state. Over the years, political figures recognized the power of this interpretation. They began tweaking the song's internal logic to alter its philosophical meaning for voters. In 1984, Ronald Reagan introduced a subtle rhetorical shift. He linked the 2 core concepts tightly together, telling rally crowds that America is the land of the free because it is the home of the brave. That single word changes the entire mechanism of the song. It turns Key's passive observation of a flag surviving a battle into a rigid transactional philosophy. Freedom exists exclusively as the byproduct of military sacrifice. This continuous editing and reinterpretation proves that the Star-Spangled Banner is not a static historical artifact locked behind glass. It is an active, living document. When traditionalists stand at attention and demand reverence for the song, they are defending that transactional philosophy. They are honoring the literal bravery they believe guarantees the nation's survival. Conversely, when demonstrators take a knee during the opening notes, they are pointing out the hypocrisy of the exact same lyrics, demanding to know why the land of the free still fails to protect its marginalized citizens. When a song is this central to the public ritual, it functions as a diagnostic tool. The tension on the sidelines is the sound of different groups checking the integrity of those words against the reality of their own lives. The Star-Spangled Banner endures because it demands participation. It forces every generation to step onto a public stage and answer whether they are truly free, and if they are brave enough to make it so.